here I am. I forgot to add myself to the stream. What a way to start. Hey, yo, Foxboro. Thank you guys for joining me again today for this live stream talking all about the Patriots versus the Lions. And it's throwback week, guys. I'm so excited. I think I've gotten more and more excited every single day that we've gotten closer to the game, especially now that the Patriots are posting pictures of the end zone and the newly painted locker room area. They're painting the half field thingy but jiggy also, so it's just really exciting and I cannot wait. I think we're gonna I feel like it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing, because I think we're all just going to love it, and then we're going to not want them to have to go away. So, I mean, we at least get to see them one more time this season against the Bills. I can't remember. Well, it's whatever home game, which I can't remember if it's the first or second one, but we'll at least get to see it one more time. But I'm very excited that we finally get to see them this weekend. So, without further ado, let's just jump straight into Week 5. Let's start with the injury reports first. So the Patriots did just drop theirs just a little bit ago. I'm going to go to Mike Reese's page because he tweeted it, and I wrote my notes before this was put out. So Lawrence Guy and DeMarcus Mitchell are officially out. That's a big loss for the defense with Guy being out. We've seen how the run defense has been lacking over the last 1.5 games that he's been out, so that's a big blow. Mac Jones and Jonnu Smith were limited in practice again today, but they are listed as doubtful. Questionables are the same with Duggar, McMillan, Jacoby Myers, Adrian Phillips, and Isaiah Wynn. But we also now have Jalen Mills, who is dealing with a hamstring injury still, and he did not practice today. So that might be an indication that he's also not going to be playing on Sunday. And I guess that opens the door for Jack Jones to get another start. So that is quite interesting. And we know that Brian Hoyer has already been placed on IR, so we will not be seeing him this weekend either. And since Mac is not going to be playing, I assume that means that they will be bringing up the practice squad guy, Garrett Gilbert, I think is his name. So we will have two young rookie or young quarterbacks this week, which is exciting and a little bit scary if we're being honest. So as far as the Lions injury report, Amon-Ra St. Brown returned to practice today, but he was limited. DeAndre Swift is being said to be out. I don't know if they've officially announced him as out, but he hasn't been practicing this week. I think that they were testing him today in practice just to see how things went, and it's not looking great. So he's probably going to be out this weekend. And then also the biggest names that have been on the injury report all week long are DJ Shark, TJ Hawkinson, and Josh Reynolds. They did not practice yesterday. I am not positive. Let's see. Let's check the Lions Twitter and see if yes. Okay, so let's check their injury report. Okay. DJ Shark is out. DeAndre Swift is out. Josh Reynolds is questionable. St. Brown is questionable. Hawkinson's fine. He was a full participant today, so it looks like they were probably just monitoring his injury. So, yeah, they have quite a lengthy injury report, just like we do. So, we shall see. But obviously, having DeAndre Swift out is a big deal, especially with the absence of Lawrence Guy. So that is going to be huge. And I want to make sure I say hi to you guys because I see you guys saying hi in the chat. Hello. Thank you for being here with me again. And I also wanted to go over some of the interesting key points from Belichick today in the press conference. He's back into his midseason form and just not really giving a whole lot. So the things that I thought were the most interesting is he wouldn't say who was the starting quarterback on Sunday, which I think that we kind of all already knew who it was going to be. But he did say that Mac was a lot closer to playing right now than he was last week, which is a good indication of him healing and going in the right direction. And the other big point to me was he wouldn't call Matt Patricia the offensive coordinator, and he wouldn't call him the play caller. So He said he puts the play calling on himself, and when he was asked directly if Patricia was the play caller, he said, call it whatever you want. So still playing games there. It's kind of why even with my articles and stuff, when I mention Matt Patricia and calling plays, I kind of say that he is the newly crowned but not yet officially named offensive coordinator, because we all see him on the sidelines calling plays, working with the offense, and Belichick is not. So I don't know what the deal is. I think that there's a loophole that they're trying to get around by not having Patricia. I think it's a money thing, isn't it? Like, don't the Lions still owe him money? And so if they officially give him the title, then he's not entitled to the money or something. I don't know. Something that I don't remember, but I'll have to. I think it's something like that, and I guess that makes more sense, but it's still just kind of funny. So let's get into the key parts to success this week and the ways to win, because this is another very winnable game for the Patriots, but also it's a must win for both sides. Both teams sit at 1-3, and they are both at the bottom of their division. So, this is going to be a game where they're both going to be trying to get that edge and get a win and hopefully start edging back towards, above 500, because the Lions are performing really well offensively. So it is kind of shocking that they're also 1-3, but I guess it's just a weird season. I think that we can say, based off of the performance of the Thursday night game last night, that this is a very weird season. So the first key matchup, of course, is going to be the Patriots offense versus the Lions defense. The New England defense. So I had in my notes who was going to be the quarterback and why should it be Zappe. We already know that that's basically official at this point. I am very on board with Zappe starting. Not necessarily because I think he will play better than if Mac was playing, or, give them a better chance at winning. But I think I would err on the side of caution when it comes to Mac, because I don't think he should return too early. If he does return before he's 100%, that could significantly hinder the offensive performance, because if he's not 100%, then the rest of the offense is not going to be 100% either. And of course, you don't want him to risk re-injuring himself or injuring something else. And so I like the decision of them saying, okay, he's doubtful, he's probably not going to play. So that gives Zappe his first real official start, because he although last week was his start, it was like, this is a week where they've been preparing with him all week long, knowing that he was likely going to be the guy. So I think that is going to be a good idea. Last week, he showed great poise for a rookie, very much like how Mac played last year, and showed good chemistry with the offense. He involved a lot of receivers, and I kind of assumed that was going to happen, because we've seen the same thing happen with Hoyer, where Hoyer liked different receivers than Mac, and Zappe liked different receivers than both of them. So I'm assuming that we're probably going to see something similar this week. And he, of course, has the full support from his team. I've loved how much both sides of the ball on the team have been so supportive of him and kind of like hyping him up. I think that's really cool, and that'll end up really helping him overall. So coming into this week, he's going to be facing a much different, tough defense, I would say, than Green Bay. They have that full week with him getting prepared, and will likely, I would assume, build the game plan around him and feel more comfortable, which I think is going to be a huge plus for them, because we know that they did start calling the game differently once Zappe came in as opposed to when Hoyer was in. And I think they need to do that because they're not the same type of player. And so they need to be choosing the best ways to make him successful, and the fact that they've had all week to do so, I think, is going to be a huge benefit for the offense, which has, obviously been a struggle all season long. So I think that they're in okay hands. I mean, I think that a lot of people are probably going to feel a little bit more comfortable seeing Zappe start against the Lions than they were seeing him possibly start against the Packers. I think that the teams are two totally different teams, and you don't have to worry necessarily about an Aaron Rodgers-led offense after halftime coming back and just smashing you in the teeth. And so I think it'll be good, and it'll be even better Jacoby Myers to return this week. He's still listed as questionable, so it is not certain at this point if he is back or if he's not. But we do know that, other than the fact that we call him Mr. Reliable, which I guess he's taken on that nickname, because that's what I used to call James White. But I guess since he's retired, we can hand that nickname over to Jacoby Myers. Other than the fact that he's so reliable, Zappe loves to work with slot receivers, and he did that a lot, especially in his last year in college. And he threw to a slot receiver. Well, he had 150 receptions for 1,902 yards and 17 touchdowns just in the last year in college. So he loves him a slot receiver. And obviously Myers is that for the Patriots. So Myers being on the field opens that door for Zappe to feel comfortable and work with the type of guy that, I don't know how much they've actually worked with each other in the past or through preseason, but I still think that it would be good. I think that it'll help Myers become more comfortable. Zappe become more comfortable on the field. I can't imagine the nerves he was feeling last week or the pressure that he felt on himself coming into the game pretty early. I mean, it was still the first quarter, and knowing that it was a must-win game and facing a team like the Packers at Green Bay is daunting in itself. But coming in after knowing that there's no one left to take over for you if anything were to happen to you, I just can't imagine. And he did a really great job. So with Myers coming back, if he is coming back, which I hope he is, he'll likely be matched up with the Lions' Mike Hughes, who is their slot corner. And so far this year, he's not having like the best year. Out of the 20 catches that he has been, or the 20 times that he has been targeted, he's allowed 16 catches for 240 yards. And they use him to blitz a lot, so that would benefit Myers, obviously, and allow him to be open. So that is even more of a reason to hopefully get Myers back on the field, because you can definitely throw his way, and it's not going to be a scary decision, especially because we saw Patricia kind of hold him back, it seemed like, last week in making passes. And I get it, this is another week where you can kind of beat them with the run game because their run defense is so bad, and I'll get into that in a second. But I would like to see Zappe get more of an opportunity to make passes. We know that even though sometimes he can be erratic, and we saw that in the preseason, he has an arm. I mean, the kid threw for 5,900 something yards last year. So, I mean, he has everything in him to be a great passer. And so I'm hoping that we get to see that a little bit more, especially to Kendrick Bourne, who I saw Chris mentioned as well. Feed Bourne. I'm hoping so. I think that, you know what? I'm going to get into that. I'm going to get into who I think that will be a big thing on the defense. I'll get into that in just a second. So, continuing with the offense, though, I briefly spoke about it, but are we going to see a big game from Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson? I think that is going to be a big thing on Sunday. I think the Detroit defense, let's go over a couple stats. So the Detroit defense has allowed 35.3 points per game. So they do have the number one scoring offense, but they also have a terrible defense, and they are allowing 35 points, which is the league worst. The net yards allowed per passing attempt is 7.2, which again, 28th in the league, so bottom of the league. Rushing yards per attempt, the Lions are allowing the league worst with 5.6, and they only have 3 takeaways on the year. So the Patriots have, I think it said 6. So that might be another good indication for Patricia to allow Zappe to throw, because, you know, they're not having a lot of turnovers, the defense, I mean. And so if they're worried about him passing and maybe having an erratic throw or something like that, you might not have to worry about it too much. Last week was a shootout between the Lions and the Seahawks. I believe it ended at 48-45. So that's a huge indicator that neither team had any defense. So there was no punts forced by the Lions defense on the Seahawks last week. They allowed 320 total receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Metcalf had 7 catches for 149 yards himself. Now, the Patriots don't necessarily have themselves like a DK Metcalf type of guy, But it does make me think that maybe Aguilar, Parker, Kendrick Bourne, like I just said, maybe they can become more involved in this game and make Zappy feel a little bit more comfortable in the passing game, especially in the deep passing game. I think that they could become a huge thing. We've seen Aguilar have a breakout game. We saw Devontae Parker have a breakout game. And I think Bourne is due for that. And I really hope Patricia will try to involve him more. We know that he's, spreads the field. Sorry, I have a dry throat. And we know that when he's on the field, he makes big plays and he's always impactful. So I'm still waiting to see Patricia, just whatever he's dealing with in between him and Bourne, just put that aside and let Bourne be the guy that we need. And I think this is the week that they can do that. So I have my fingers crossed. I think just like you guys. Let's see. Chris is saying spread the field and let Bailey throw. At least it will make the Lions think twice on what plays they will call. Yeah, I think I understand the run game last week, especially because he got put in so randomly. Was not prepared for it whatsoever. And obviously you want to take advantage of their poor run defense this week as well. So if they do stick to the ground game, that's fine. But I mean, if you're not changing things up with passes, and the defense, even though the Lions have a terrible defense at this point, it's not going to take a rocket scientist to figure out what play the Patriots are going to run with. So they're going to have to let him pass, and we know that he can. So that's the thing. It's like, it's frustrating because you want to see it happen, but sticking to the run game, we know that they have a really poor run defense. They allowed 235 total rushing yards last week and 3 touchdowns. Rashad Penny, who is not even like a top guy in the league necessarily, he's definitely having a much better season this year, but he had 17 carries for 151 yards and 2 touchdowns himself last week. And the Lions are averaging 165 rushing yards allowed per game. So that's why I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot from Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson in this game. I almost wish that they had Ty Montgomery too, because I think he could be a huge benefit to this offense, especially because he's much more reliable as a pass catcher than Damian Harris. And Stevenson has gotten better, but we haven't really seen them implement that much so far. So Ty Montgomery would be awesome to have. And I think this is his last game that he has to miss on IR. So I hope that we get to see him back soon. I know that Belichick kind of made it seem like he might not come back this season, but let's hope that's not the case, because I would be incredibly disappointed. And let's see the next matchup. Isaiah Wynn versus Aiden Hutchinson. So this is under the assumption that Isaiah Wynn is going to be starting at right tackle. Obviously, we do know that Marcus Cannon was signed to the 53-man roster once again. So, well, he was elevated last week, but obviously they know that there is a weakness there. And they're kind of, I feel like signing Cannon to the roster kind of is putting Isaiah Wynn on notice. Like, they know that you are struggling, and we got the guy that we need if you aren't performing up to our standards. So obviously Aiden Hutchinson was drafted just this year. He was the 2nd overall pick, so a huge impactful player, but he has had quite like an up and down season so far. I think a lot of people had obviously high expectations given where he was drafted, but he hasn't quite figured it all out every single game. His best performance was in week 2 when they were against the Washington Commanders, and he had 3 sacks, but we have to remember that was also Carson Wentz, and the Commanders are just kind of a hot mess anyway. So he did only have 2 quarterback hits last week on Geno Smith, and it's going to be interesting. They're going to have to be a lot more careful this week because he is there, and they're going to be just as hungry for a win as the Patriots are, and they're going to try to take advantage of the fact that the Patriots are having a rookie quarterback play. So the defense is going to want to, show that they can be good and stop an offense, especially an offense that isn't performing very well this year. So taking advantage of a of an inexperienced in the NFL quarterback is going to be a huge thing. So Isaiah Wynn is going to have to be on his toes. We know that Hutchinson is a speed rusher, so he could easily get Wynn out of stance. And Wynn has to be careful because we know that he has gotten 6 penalties this year for false starts and holding. You do not want Hutchinson to lead you to a false start because that has been a absolute mess this year. He's taken back way too many positive yardage plays. And knowing that Zappe is going to be the guy, we cannot have plays taken back that he played well with and Wynn is just like, LOL, I'm going to get another false start. We just can't have that because, we can't have it at all, but you know what I'm saying. Let's see what you guys are saying before I move on. Ron94 says, hey. And Chris says, I'd bench Wynn. Yeah, I think the problem is he's not as awful overall as people want to believe he is. He's kind of been like a scapegoat over the last couple of years. And I'm not saying that he's played phenomenal. He hasn't, but I would assume that the Patriots felt comfortable enough with him and felt he was performing well enough for them to pick up his 5th-year option. And I think that's kind of a problem that they're running into this year, that they don't want to completely bench him because they are paying him $10 million. And so you kind of want to see if you can get your money's worth out of him. And so far, it's not looking very good. I think that the switch from left to right tackle is impacting him a lot more than it is Trent Brown. And so he's having a much harder adjustment and it's showing and it's a problem. And so I feel for him because I don't think he's like a bad guy. And I think a lot of people just like to crap on him on Twitter and socials and stuff like that because they don't like how he plays. But I'm just one of those people that remembers they are human. And so I kind of feel bad that he's not performing well and he's probably under so much stress and he's like probably very aware that he is not performing up to his standards, never mind the Patriots. So I hope that he can be better. But it is very reassuring that they do have Marcus Cannon waiting in the wings because he wasn't at all a problem last week. If anything, he was like their knight in shining armor because the way Wynn was playing, it was just, not good. Then we also have, of course, I feel like this is so obvious, but I got breaking down points. So the Lions offense versus the Patriots defense. We know, so as far as stats go for the Lions offense overall, they have the highest scoring offense in the league right now, averaging 35 points per game. And they're also, they're doubling their average score over the Patriots, who are only averaging 18 points per game. So that is a little bit scary, but, I keep reading the comments and then I get lost. So Goff is also having a bounce back season, which I think is absolutely crazy. I saw someone say that it kind of feels like Goff and Stafford have switched, because Stafford is playing so poorly, but Goff is playing so well. It's kind of weird to be saying that at this point, especially with how they both did last season. But he's 5th in the league right now for yards with 1,126, and he is tied for 1st with 11 touchdowns. So his bounce back season is in full effect. I think a lot of it has to do with his offensive line and his explosive weapons. He has Amon-Ra St. Brown, TJ Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift, and he has great number 2s in Jamal Williams and Josh Reynolds. I just had a mind fart for a second. So we know what Goff is capable of in both aspects, though. We know how great he can be, and we know how absolutely terrible he can be. So the defense is going to have to try and bring out that awful side that we're all very familiar with. And there's going to be a lot of pieces that are going to have to make that happen. We're going to need to see a lot of pressure. We're going to need to see hits on him. We're going to need the secondary to do their job, because you're going to need to shut down a lot of these guys, because the numbers that they are putting up are absolutely insane. And any way that you can keep them off the field and end their drives early is only going to benefit the offense. So other than that, they also have to slow down TJ Hawkinson, who had a absolutely insane game last week. He took advantage of another weak defense, which was the Seattle defense. He went 8 of 12 for 179 yards and 2 touchdowns, and one of his runs was good for 81 yards. So this is where you kind of your concerns grow in regards to Kyle Dugger's availability, because we know what happens when the Patriots played the Ravens and Dugger was not in that game. We know that Mark Andrews had a phenomenal game, not Hawkinson numbers, but he did have, I forget, 89 yards, and I believe he had 2 touchdowns. So Dugger, his absence is obviously a huge problem, and I'm really hoping that he is able to go this week. He did play last week, but it was very limited, and they don't really, I mean, the Packers have Tanyan, and they try to implement some other tight ends, but they're not really a big tight end team as of late, so it wasn't as big of a concern. But Hawkinson is one of the top guys in the league right now, so Dugger is going to need to hopefully play, and if he doesn't, then I don't know who steps up in his place, because what we saw in Baltimore was not good. So I don't even know. I will be very worried if Dugger can't go. So I don't know, cross your fingers that Dugger plays, because I would be a little bit nervous. I know that Hawkinson is dealing with an injury, and I'm going to double check on what it is, because I can't remember. I want to say it's a hip. Let's see. Hawkinson. Yes, it is a hip. So they did not practice on so he did not practice on Wednesday. He had limited practice yesterday, and he was a full participant today. So they obviously were monitoring that, but I mean, a hip injury is no joke. So maybe, I don't know. We just need Dugger, basically, is what I'm saying. We need Dugger. Chris said Dugger needs to play even if he has to hop on one leg. I know, right? Ron 94, I missed it. Are you confident in Zappy after last week's performance? Yes, because I know he didn't get 100 yards, and a lot of people are not thrilled about that. But I think a lot of that had to do with Patricia not trusting him to throw, or not feeling comfortable with him to throw. I don't know what exactly that was. But now that they've had a full week to prepare together, knowing that he was going to be the guy, because they knew Hoyer wasn't coming back, and they knew Mac was still hobbling around. So I can't imagine they didn't prepare for this all week long. I do think that they're probably going to try to use the run game a lot, because the Lions defense is so bad at defending the run. It would be kind of silly for them to not use it. But we know that Zappy can throw the ball. So I'm really hoping that they can do that as well, because it would just be a shame to only try to win on the ground. I think that's kind of silly. I mean, we haven't really heard anything about how Zappy has looked through practices. Haven't heard anything about if he's throwing a lot of interceptions or anything like that. So there's no indication that he's not performing well in the passing game. So I feel pretty confident. I know the preseason didn't look great, and that's why I use the term erratic a lot when talking about him, because he would play really well, and then he would just have a play that makes you wonder, like, what is going on? But I feel like it's kind of on par with what Mac has looked like this year. So, he has like I said, he has the confidence and the support from the entire offense, and I think that they will try to make his job a lot easier for him. And the offense looked a lot better last week. So with all of that coming together, it's like the perfect time for Zappy to have to play under the circumstances. I think the offense is definitely going to try and help him out a bit if they can. So another aspect of the game is going to be the run defense, because the Patriots run defense is a big old struggle. It's been a struggle for the last couple of years. It's definitely been one of their weaker points on the defense. And this is going to be a game that they're going to need to kind of do a turnaround, because they have great runners as well. It's a huge win that DeAndre Swift is going to be out, because he was having quite the season already. But the Lions are number 1 in rushing yards per attempt this year with 5.9, which is ridiculous. And even though Swift is not playing, they have Jamal Williams. I'm sure if you guys play fantasy football, then a lot of you probably have Jamal Williams. And he is a problem too. So far in the games that he has played, he has 62 rushes for 276 yards and 6 touchdowns. And he's averaging 4.5 yards per carry. So pretty on par with like what the league does overall. And he was absolutely crazy last week. Oh my goodness, I should look at those numbers because he had a big game last week. Lions versus, okay, I can't believe I didn't keep those notes for me. Let's see. Box score. Oh my gosh, the video is going to start playing or something. Okay. Rushing. So he had 19 carries for 108 yards, averaging 5.7 yards per carry with 2 touchdowns, and he had a long run of 51. So definitely a problem. Like I said, it's a huge deal that Swift is out. But they only totaled 145 yards on the ground last week, and 108 of them came from Jamal Williams. So they can't just abandon the run game. You know what I mean? Like the defense needs to get better, and they're very aware of it, especially knowing now that Lawrence Guy is not playing. They're going to have to step it up and do something about it because, first of all, they have a high power offense in general, in the passing game especially. And if they're successful in that, you don't want to then let them run all over you. So, and this season as well, the Lions running backs are averaging 6.3 yards per carry on 40 carries up the middle. So Lawrence Guy's absence, like I said, is going to be a huge problem. So they're going to need to rely on Gotcha and Barmore because they're the guys that are predominantly in the middle. And we're going to need to see a big game from both of them because you do not want to get beat by the backup running backs. So that is that. And then the biggest thing of all, of course, right, is limiting the penalties and the turnovers. That has been an issue all season long. Obviously, we know from what I've already said, the offensive penalties have been predominantly coming from Isaiah Wynn. So that is going to be a huge point of emphasis this week, but also the turnovers. The Lions only have 3 turnovers. Their defense has only 3 turnovers on the season. I think that's like all that Jared Goff has too. Let me see. He's not throwing a whole lot of interceptions either. Let's see. Oh my goodness, my cat is on my lap. She's being a problem. Okay, so he has 11 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. Yes. So he only had 8 last year, and he's performing way better than he did. He only had 19 touchdowns last year, and he already has 11. So he's definitely on track to have one of the better seasons of his career. That is for sure. So they're not going to be handing you turnovers, and they might not be committing them either. So try not to give them the ball at all. We know that when they lose a turnover battle, they are losing the game, and there's no in between. That's basically the story. So if they can just prevent fumbles, prevent interceptions, then they could win this game. It's a very winnable game, and it is a must-win game. Like I said at the beginning, they're at the bottom of the AFC East right now, and they have a stretch of games, especially leading up to the bye week, that they could stack quite a bit of wins. So let's look at the Patriots. Oh my goodness, my cat is such a mess. Patriots schedule. So the next stretch of games. Let's see. Okay. So obviously next week on Sunday, they are playing the Lions. Then week 6 is at Cleveland. Week 7 versus Chicago, which is the Monday night game. Oh God, people are going to complain about that so much. Then on my birthday, October 30th, they are playing at New York. And week 9, they are playing versus the Colts, who, I mean, you got to feel confident going against the Colts after what you saw last night. I'm just saying. Then they have the bye week, but then they come out of the bye week and they're playing against the Jets as well. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games that they could possibly win. And that would put them at 6-3. So, And then they have a tougher stretch again. Minnesota versus Buffalo, at Arizona, at Las Vegas, versus Cincinnati, versus Miami, and at Buffalo. I swear Goodell does that on purpose. It's like he just wants to torture the Patriots by putting Buffalo and Miami at the end. Like, I know that they try to be like, oh, they all start with a divisional rival at the beginning. I'm like, yeah, that just started like last year, but the Patriots have been dealing with that for years now, and now you're just going to make it a league thing. But okay, like they've been doing that for so long. But yeah, so those next 6 games, they could definitely get, I would say, at least 4 wins if we're being kind. They could definitely beat the Lions. They could definitely beat the Browns, the Jets, the Colts. So that would be 2 Jets wins, the Colts 3, 4, 5. Yeah, they could even get 5. Chicago is the only one that I'd be a little bit iffy with, just because I feel like the Bears are just kind of iffy at this point. But yeah, I mean, they have the potential to do really well over the next 6 weeks. So let's hope that they do. The Bears, you think they can beat the Bears, Chris? Raw94 says, I think we could just move John Jones to slot and put Jack Jones on the outside. Yes, that is something that they could do, and it's possible. I was thinking with Jalen Mills being out, it was something that I was questioning, especially not even with just Jalen Mills being out, but it might be something that they either drastically change if they decide that they really like Jack Jones, and they might just keep him on the outside and move Jonathan Jones to the slot, which I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that they do, especially because they're not going to want to pay Jonathan Jones outside corner money if they do intend or hope to actually pay him at the end of the year. But it might become, a game-to-game thing. So I wouldn't be surprised. It could be all about the Joneses, and I'm all for it. I am a huge fan of Jack Jones from what we've seen. I love his attitude. I just love his aggressiveness. I am very interested to see what he will do on Sunday. Shay, hi Shay. He says over under 2 passing touchdowns for Goff. Ooh. I'm gonna say over. I think he's gonna probably pass for more than that, and I don't want that to happen. But they're averaging 35 points a game. It would be ridiculous for me to say that they're just gonna get them all on the ground. I mean, Hawkinson, if Duggar's not playing, then that's going to be more of a problem. But yeah, I'm thinking they're going to go for more than 2 passing touchdowns. Chris says, depends on who the quarterback is against the Bears. Yeah, and at that point, because that's not until week 7, Mac could be back. But like I said, I want to make sure that he's 100% before he comes back, because I wouldn't want that to be a reason that people start criticizing him more because he came back too early. I understand that he wants to come back because he's a competitor and he has that competitor mindset, but his job's not in jeopardy despite what everybody wants to say online. Zappe is not going to start getting the starts over him. That's not a concern, and I don't think that that's necessarily a motive for why Mac is trying to come back. I think he's a football player and he wants to be back. Like, he's upset that he's injured. So yeah, we shall see. Hopefully we'll have Mac by then, but like I said, hopefully it will be a healthy Mac. Ron94 says, yeah, because Miles Bryant is burnt toast. Yeah, I like Miles Bryant, but I feel like they're just putting too much on him. I think that when he has more of a limited role, we see him play better. I think that they're trying to make up for like Jalen Mills being gone, and so that he's seeing like nearly 100% of defensive snaps, and I think that's just overworking him. It's just not, they're not working with him to, in his best abilities. I think that's part of the problem. Chris says Bailey Zappi should change his name to Bailey Zappi Jones. I know we have a team full of Joneses, so that's the funny part about having Mac on the field, is we can say that it's the Patriots and the Joneses, but when Zappi's there, I love the last name Zappi though. Like I feel like it's just a cool last name. So yeah, I think we're gonna hear a lot of puns probably on Sunday again. We're already hearing a lot about it anyway. Freddie says he gets 3 touchdowns passing. Yeah, I'm not good at predicting this kind of stuff, and that's why I don't usually participate in these types of conversations. But based off of what we've seen so far, I feel like they're definitely going to get at least 3. But I hope I'm wrong. I am hoping and praying that I am wrong, because I think that will just start making my heart palpitate. Ron84 says, we found a gem in Marcus Jones as a returner. Yes, I am so happy about it. He didn't look great at the beginning of the season, but he played really well, set a bunch of records last week, so I'm hoping we can get that again. I don't know a whole lot about the Lions special teams and how well they've been playing, but I know that the Patriots have been kind of up and down, and I'm hoping that we can see the exact same type of play that we saw from Marcus last week. He put them consistently in great position. I know at least 2 times he put them at midfield. Otherwise, he was averaging 24 yards or more on his returns. So that would be a huge help for the Patriots offense on Sunday as well. So D22 Williams, hey, he says, Bourne is ranked number 1 in the ESPN's new wide receiver catch score rating stats from the start of the 2021 season to week 4 of 2022. To see Curran's podcast yesterday with ESPN's Seth Walder at 11:20. So I love these stats because you are a big supporter of Bourne, and I am as well. And I am hoping that we'll see him more this week. We saw him, I think he only had a couple catches for 20-something yards, but he was also used in the backfield on one occasion, and that was with Hoyer in the first quarter for 15 yards. So I'm hoping that we can see more of that, especially now that Jonnu Smith is likely not going to play. And that was kind of what they were trying to do with him last year, and then assuming they were going to try to do that with him this year. So I'd like to see Bourne used a lot more. I think he's kind of like one of their X factors and very under the rated receiver. And it's possible that the Lions aren't going to be preparing for him because they haven't really used him that much. So I am on your side, sir. And I hope we get to see more of that as well. Ron94 says Jamie Collins is back as well. Yes, but I believe he is still on the practice squad. I do not think that he was elevated to the main roster yet, or the 53-man roster. Someone should give the Bourne stats to Matty P. I am saying. Whatever's going on there, I mean, it feels like it might be a little bit better, but I mean, I don't like it. I know that they were trying to veer off into like a new offense and try something new, but when something is working, I just don't really understand the point of fixing it. You know, they were like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So it's like there was nothing wrong with what the Patriots had been doing, especially when it came to how they were using Kendrick Bourne last year. So I don't really understand why they're doing basically the complete opposite this year so far. My cat she wants to be a star, guys. She wants to be a star. Freddie says, hopefully we use the tight ends already because just becoming a waste of money at this point. Well, now we know that it's probably only going to be Hunter Henry and that it's not going to be Jonnu Smith Sunday. So it'll be interesting to see if they do bring up, what's his name? Matt Sock. Oh my goodness. Now I'm going to have to look it up. Patriots practice squad. Yeah. They might even end up using Humphrey in that role. So we could see that on Sunday since Smith is going to be out. Is this an updated list? No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think. Yeah, just put Little Jordan in. Yeah, that's what I would say too. He's really good at blocking. So, and he's basically used in that capacity anyway. So, why can't I find an updated? I can't find an updated practice squad. You guys know who I'm talking about. Matt something. It begins with an S. Tight end Matt Sokol. That's what I was trying to say. It's like no one is helping me in the chat. You guys let me down. Taekwon is not going to play on Sunday as from what we've seen. I don't think so. You guys are both saying it at the same time. They had 3 weeks to activate him and they haven't activated him yet. They had the 21-day window. He's been at practice and they've been saying that he's looking good. But as far as I know, I mean, they have time, I think, to elevate him. I don't know. But I haven't heard anything and there's no indication that they're planning on doing that before Sunday. So I don't know, guys. I don't know. But that's another one where you want to monitor that injury because he is so thin and lanky. You don't want to rush that back either. A collarbone injury is no joke. Just don't forget about Tony Romo breaking his collarbone, coming back, and then in the first game back, he broke his other one. So definitely don't want that to happen. And, he was a quarterback, not a receiver. So I'm very excited to see Thornton when he does come back. I think he could be a great piece to the offense and, a speedy guy that they are definitely needing. But I feel like I would rather see the offense get that chemistry going and with who they have right now, and then try to implement Thornton in some sort of way. So we still have some time. Don't worry. So that's all I have for today, guys. Thank you for being so chatty in the comments today. I really appreciate it. I will be back with Hey Yo Foxboro on Monday, October 10th at 5 p.m. Eastern, so we can go over this game, hopefully with a win. I don't even like talking about it out loud because I'm so superstitious. I don't like doing that, but hopefully it is with a win. So I will see you guys on Monday. And thank you, as I always say, for joining me today. And hopefully I will see you guys next week. So have a great weekend and chat with me on Twitter on Sunday. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Follow E2G Sports at E2G Sports on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. Follow all of us. If you ever need any of those links, hit me up on Twitter. I got you. But until then, I will see you guys later. And don't forget, go Pats. Bye, guys.